Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, and Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Sandra Birchfield, and I'm excited about being a part of Reader's Magnet's Festival of the Arts for the Festival of the Readers. And we have an author today that is a very well-renowned person, and I've been talking to her some, and I think you're going to really enjoy the time that we had to find out more about this author. Her name is Nicki Geigert, and she is here today with us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicki Geigert, and I guess I should tell you a little bit about myself. I'm, first of all, a photographer, and I have photographed on all 7 continents of the world. I've been through all 50 states, and this world is an amazing, amazing place. We just get rid of all the politics. So my work's been displayed in photo galleries, Fedora's travel guides, coffee table books, and basically I have written about travel-related types of things, and each book has information on where I've traveled and those kinds of things. So thank you for joining us today.
Nicki, which book do you feel you describe one of the most experiencing travel selections? Of your books where you did your travel, what was the most interesting to you, and which book was the most fun to write?
I would have to say the first one, this one, Family Trip to Magical Madagascar and Beyond. And Madagascar is one of the most unique places in the world. They say that 75 to 95% of everything that you will see in Madagascar is indigenous only to Madagascar. You won't find it anywhere else in the world. And I have found that to be true. So just to give you an idea, here, wherever we are here. Okay, there are chameleons and geckos galore. And there are, has anyone heard of a fusa? A fusa is like the largest mongoose you have ever seen. It's the size of a cheetah, and it climbs trees. It eats the lemurs, and the lemurs are the little animals, the primary little animals that live in Madagascar. The people are unique. They're not African, as you would think of African. They think that the people of Madagascar originally came from India, but nobody knows for sure. So that was probably the most fun book to write, and the most diverse book that I've ever written, because the people are unique. The food is a combination of Arabic, Chinese, French, and Indian. So even the food is totally different.
Nicki, it sounds like that would be a wonderful book to read. I think everybody should try to find that book and read it, because it's so interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing is I do lead photo trips to Madagascar. In fact, I'm leading one October of 2022. So if anyone just clicks on NickiGeigert.com, it'll take you to my website, and you can sign up for the tour.
Well, that sounds exciting. You have a lot going on.
I do.
What's the average time it takes you to write a book? If you would have to kind of guesstimate, do you start formulating ideas and then leave it for a while, or do you go straight through it? Or
well, this book here, Who's Yawning Now? And this is a lemur on the front. And this one took me 45 years.
Wow.
Because what I wanted to do was capture a variety of animals yawning. This is a wallaby, and this one over here is a koala. So I originally wanted to write a book, Animal Yawns A to Z. So I started 45 years ago with a hippo yawn. And I got all of my animals except for Q, X, and one other one. So I thought, this A to Z is not going to work. So then I titled it, I just picked out some of my animals that were yawning and titled it, Who's Yawning Now? And then the other books, wherever I travel, I journal. So basically, I had all my notes and everything for information that I wanted to put into a book.
Well, traveling and that experience is certainly enlightening to children here in our United States that haven't had that opportunity. Mm-hmm. Those sound like great books to be in the school library, or
have
available for children to look at and to get excited about reading, and maybe have a book fair at the school and introduce you as an author and do those sorts of things, because children need to know that there are people out there writing these books. They need to know about the topics and the subjects and how we came about our titles. Mm-hmm. Did you have any trouble coming up with the title?
Well, I always leave the title to the last, because the book has to kind of write itself. In other words, you can't force a book. As an author, it just has to kind of come. And then I save the title for last to just sum up what the content of the book is.
That's a good idea.
And I've changed titles several times. The hardest one this one here, A Girl's Greek Odyssey, Join Savannah on Her Adventures. Savannah is my niece, and I have family members, special family members that I invite to choose a country, any country in the world, and my husband and I will take them there. Well, Savannah chose Greece. And as you can see, this is a little bit of an example of my photography. This is a very special place in Greece. And some of the images, for example, let's just pick something. Okay, this kind of right here, this was our trek up Mount Olympus. Wow. And everyone has heard of Mount Olympus. It's where the gods used to live. I don't know if they still do in Greece. But Greece has lots of opportunities for teenagers to, especially athletic teenagers such as my niece was or is. And so lots of swimming, lots of hiking, lots of running. We ran she ran, and I photographed her running on the 3,000-year-old original Olympic track in Greece.
Wow.
And it's a place that you can visit, and it's just, to go to a place like that and just absorb, what it must have been like 3,000 years ago is just amazing. So there were people that stopped and watched as she ran around the track as I was photographing her. And it was just fun things like that. And she learned to windsurf, and we had just a blast.
Well, she certainly got a lot of good experiences in that adventure. And
Yes,
it'll be something that she'll remember forever. And then having the book as a follow-up to keep and give to her children.
That's right. Yeah, and I gave her the book as a gift.
Oh, that's wonderful. Hey, tell us a story about the first time you decided to jot down notes. You decided to jot down some notes when you were thinking about maybe writing a book, or did you just save it till last again there too?
Because I journal.
Okay.
The book was pretty much already almost written for me. So it was just a matter of how I wanted to formulate it and what I wanted to include. So I think the hardest part was rather than writing, because a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Exactly.
So for me, choosing the pictures, and each trip is probably 10,000 shots. So to choose the specific images to go into the book was the most difficult thing for me. And it was the same for my Who's Yawning Now book. Choosing the yawns was probably the most difficult. And then I did the research on each individual little animal that was yawning, and the history or the updates on the most endangered species. And that's what's really important to me, is the conservation of these endangered species. So they don't have a voice. So I, along with quite a few other people, have to be the voice for these animals so that they won't disappear from the world and become extinct.
That's a wonderful thing to be willing to do. And you're right, they are going to become extinct because there's fewer and fewer of them, as we see that so many things that we remember as children, such as the elephants in the circus or the other animals that we just haven't been taken care of and that are just dying out.
Yeah. Well, just for an example, the lemurs in Madagascar are the most endangered little species on the planet. And most people don't realize that, because half the population of the world has never even heard of a lemur. And they go, oh, is it a monkey? No, it's not a monkey. It's totally its own little species. But between 1970 to present, 75% of their habitat has been destroyed because Madagascar has, they have no conservation efforts in place. They do now more than they ever did, but they originally didn't have any conservation efforts in place. So it was a slash and burn society. They need wood. They just put a forest, you know, on fire to burn out the vegetation. And then the charred wood was cut down, and it just kind of acts as kind of like a charcoal, so it doesn't burn as quickly. But that's what they used, you know, for their firewood, and clearing the forests for their crops and all of those kinds of things.
Have you thought about starting a foundation to help save these little lemurs?
I have an education foundation, and we support lots of young people in Africa. It's the Nicki Geigert World Education Foundation. And so right now we're supporting 12 young men and women in different areas of Africa to not only finish secondary school, because you have to pay to go to secondary school. And lots of these people are so poor, they can't even afford to go to secondary school. And then we're putting, I think, 5 young men through college.
Wow, that is great.
Yeah, it's fun.
There's so many needs out there. And like I said when I'm doing my presentation, if we just would listen and see the things around us, we could make such a difference. And start with one. Some of these children that they will see sometimes on the informational thing about doing good in America or doing well. And these children have thought up these ideas of things to do to help get their country to be a better place to live, a better place to work, and a better place to play. Our children are so important. Is there anything else that you'd like to interject at this point about yourself that you would like the people to know? Is there anything that you'd like to?
Not particularly. I'm, like I said, I'm going back to Madagascar in October.
Okay.
And we're going to Kenya to visit all of our students, and we're going to, in fact, we just leave in a couple of weeks to go back to Africa. So, and we're doing one safari. And that's going to be in Zimbabwe, which is where our daughter lives. She's a doctor there.
Wow. What do you like the best about Africa? What's the thing that most interests you, intrigues you about Africa?
Oh my goodness. Africa is amazing because if you're on the Serengeti, which is where all of the animals go from, they go from one country, they start, it's a circular pattern. They follow the rains, if you will, for the grasses, the wildebeests. The wildebeests are, you see like, you know, you can see anywhere from 100,000 to 500,000 wildebeest on the savannas of the Serengeti, you know, and it's just mind-boggling to see that many animals. And of course, when you see all of those animals, all of these animals, the giraffe, the zebra, the impala, all of the different antelope varieties, they're all in the same train together. And of course, all of the predators are there, the lions, the leopards, they're all following the herd because that's their food too.
Yes, it is. And sometimes
Yeah, it's just an amazing, amazing, amazing thing to see. And it's just so wide open. No electric lines, no telephone poles, no nothing. It's just open, open plain.
It's amazing. What would you like for your readers to take away from reading book titles? Your book titles are so intriguing and so interesting. Plus the beautiful camera shift that you've shown on the front of the cover and throughout the books. They just draw you in. I think would be
well, that's the thing. And I hope that the covers do draw people in, and as well as the titles, but the stories that I have within each book about each country, it's like doing an armchair tour of the country, because I include history, I include images of the people. So you become acquainted with the people, the kinds of foods they eat, the animals that live there, and what these animals have to deal with from a day-to-day existence. And for example, in my Who's Yawning Now book, we were sitting and waiting for a jackal. We knew where the den was, and it was a very, very, very hot day. And this poor daddy jackal came back, and all of his little pups, were so excited to see him, but he didn't have anything for them to eat.
I say not.
And so he went, the den was near some water. So he just went down to the water and just walked into the water. You could tell that he was very, very tired. Mm-hmm. He was very, very thirsty. He was absolutely exhausted, and his tail was down. And I mean, I believe that animals have emotions too. So, you could just see that he was just totally wasted.
You could put a subtitle. You could put a subtitle under that picture saying, "And you think you're tired."
Yeah. But it's just things like that. So in Who's Yawning Now, I tell the story first person. Mm-hmm. Like, hi, I'm a yellow jackal, and I'm the father of X amount of pups and blah blah blah. So I tell their story first person.
That's
and it makes it, I think it draws a person in better.
Sure it does, because they feel part of the story. They feel part of the book. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. How long did it take you to write? Tell us about your favorite book. Let's do that. That's one of the questions here. Just give a little summary of your favorite book.
My favorite book. I think favorite book. Yeah. This is my favorite book.
That is just such a beautiful picture. Who's Yawning Now?
Yeah. So yeah, that little lemur's got his mouth wide open in a yawn, and all of the animals in the book have their mouths wide open in a yawn. And of course, that's the way I caught the jackal, with his mouth wide open in a yawn, because he was just so exhausted and stressed. And the other thing I let people know is lots of animals yawn when they're stressed, when they're really stressed. So, that's one thing to know about them. So that was actually my absolute favorite book to write.
Well, you did.
And my next book coming out, probably, it's going to take me 2 years, because I still have to get the images. It's Penguins of the World.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Everybody likes penguins.
Oh, yeah. So I still have to go. New Zealand is closed, and so I have to go to this little island off of New Zealand to get the last penguin group that I have to photograph.
Well, it took 45 years before, and you only have had a couple of years, so you've got plenty of time.
Yep, that's the way it works.
It's been a pleasure talking with you today. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the people out there about yourself or about your books? I've really enjoyed this session. You're a very interesting person. Maybe we should write a book about you, since you've traveled the world and you've done so many wonderful things. But we look forward to getting your books and reading them. And
okay, yeah, there's, I guess, I don't know if there's any fairgoers that have any questions. Somebody said it would be interesting to see a quail yawn. Yeah, we have quail up at our ranch, and they get a little bit too scurried to stop to just give me a good yawn.
One question here, Nicki, is any plans to visit to plan out another country to visit? Do you have in your plans in the future?
Well, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be in Zimbabwe, Africa, and then on to Kenya to see our boys. So boys and girls that we are supporting through our education foundation. So, but as far as countries I haven't been to yet, I've been to all of the lower African countries. There are countries that I would like to visit, such as Egypt and Israel. But things have to settle down in the world first, I think.
What made you think that you were a good writer and a good photographer? That's one of the questions someone put up there. What made you realize, what came first, the photography or the writing, or the chicken or the egg?
Well, my other life was as a teacher. And so I loved composition, and I taught both physical education and English. So it was, I already had the background and the skills for starting out as a writer, and I've always journaled. So I guess you could say I've always written in one way, shape, form, or another, whether it's about, my own emotional state or where we went, because I have a journal for every single country that I've traveled to. So I have all that information. Plus I have all the pictures to go along with. So I've got as much subject as I want. I wrote a book about India. It's called Holy Cow. And I call it the most fascinating, filthiest place on the planet. And that's the reality of it. But it is beautiful and it's fascinating if you can dig through the dirt.
Nicki, thank you so much for your time today. And those that were in the audience, and I hope you enjoyed this interview and this moderator's questions and the things that we learned more about this great author. And great.
Well, I do. There's one more question, Sandy. We have until 10:30, actually, 9:30 to 10:30.
Oh, okay. See, I'm in Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
So that's where we're kind of messing up here a little bit. We still don't have those times straight, I don't think.
Yeah, so somebody says being a photographer requires a lot of patience and good eyes. What's your advice to those aspiring authors? So I'm not sure whether this person is talking about being a photographer or being about an author. So being a photographer, first thing that being a photographer is figure out really what's grabbing your attention and how to cut out all the clutter and just photograph the one thing that you're really interested in photographing. And advice to aspiring authors: writers have to keep writing. You have to hone your work. It just doesn't happen. Would you agree with that, Sandy?
Yes, I would. I think the biggest thing that you've mentioned is the journaling, is keeping notes, or keeping it in your head. Listen, watch, find out what's going on around you, and survey your audience. Like, if you plan on doing a children's book, you should visit a school, talk to some children, have a session set up where you could interact with them and find out what they are interested in. And so many children love animals, and animals are now, when you watch a movie from one of the films, they're all animals anymore in cartoon form, solving a problem. They have to work together. You know, you might see a tiger and a bear together, working together in the cartoon movie. So things like that are very important, I think.
Yeah. That doesn't happen in reality, though. The bear would become food.
Oh, that's my point. Yes, ma'am, it is. That they would end up as a steak on the table, probably.
Yeah, I think that the most, for us, for my family and I, the most stressful thing that we ever saw was when we were in Zambia, and we were heading to the airfield, or the airstrip. It's just, when you're in Africa, you're in a little tiny plane that flies in on a little airstrip. And the first thing the pilot has to do is buzz the strip to make sure that all the animals are off the strip.
Right. Yes.
So you don't run into them. So we were on our way to the airstrip, and we saw this baby elephant just, no more than 50 feet from us. And all of a sudden, these two male lions attacked this baby elephant and, started killing it. And I'm going, where's the mother? Where's the mother? The mother has to come and save the baby.
Did she come?
No, the driver said, actually, there's 3 brothers and they all work together. So apparently the third brother lured the mother off, and the other 2 male lions swooped in and took out the baby. So yeah, we didn't want to see all of the gore, so we left. There's nothing you can do. No. That's just life, in Africa. And I think that my favorite animal, I have 2 favorite animals. I like lemurs and koala bears.
Those are good choices. What makes your books stand out from your competitors? What would you say was the most drawing that draws them into your stories and your books compared to your competitors?
Well,
the photography is a plus that helps.
Yeah, it's
cover by by cover. So
yeah, my books are all about the photography and the story. The words accompany the photos and telling the story. Like on the book, this book, A Girl's Greek Odyssey. It tells the story of Savannah, in her first experience being in Greece, and it has pictures of her throughout doing all of these fun, amazing things, going to all of these, for example, in Athens, going to the Acropolis, seeing all of the amazing ruins, and how not only the age but the story behind why did they build this huge area on top of a mountain that is now surrounded by the city of Athens. It's just and these you know, all of these ruins go back to the time of when Paul in the Bible was there. And so we did follow some of the footsteps of Paul as well, which took us to more ancient cities of Corinth and Ephesus and, you know, all of these different places along with Athens. So it was an amazing trip historically, currently, you know, what's going on and all kinds of things like that.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, as far as what do I want readers to learn about books, the books that I write, just to appreciate the depth of the history and the people and the struggles of some of the people that we meet. And, you know, most of these nations are very, very poverty stricken, and the people of the United States really are clueless as to what poverty actually includes. And, you know, that kind of thing. So as far as somebody said that they want to know what the scariest animal is in Madagascar, there are no really scary animals in Madagascar. It's a very tame country. Even the fossa, which is the size of a cheetah, they only go after chameleons and lemurs and things like that. And I have been up close on foot to a fossa, and they're very interesting animals to watch.
I can't even imagine getting that close.
Yeah.
Like that. That's very interesting.
I think the scariest animal was the tigers of India. We spent a month going through India on tiger hunt.
Wow.
So, yeah, when they look at you, when a tiger looks straight at you, they look right through you.
Oh, definitely. They can see your heart beating.
Yeah. So.
Would you happen to have an excerpt from one of your books that you'd like to share with the group? Mind right away, or you've got so much good stuff there.
Okay, let me choose. Let's see. Oh, this one's a fun one. This one, right? Let's see, right here.
That's good. You've gotten the camera perfect.
Okay,
wow.
This is Diego. Diego is a Galapagos turtle. Okay, so I have to tell you Diego's story. Okay, this says, "Hi, I'm Diego. Can you guess where I live? If you guess the Galapagos, then you are correct. Sometime around 1935, I was brought from Hispaniola, Galapagos, to live in San Diego, California. In 1976, I was taken back to the Galapagos and placed in the island's captive breeding program to increase the numbers of the Galapagos turtles that are going extinct. At that time, there were only 2 males and 12 females of the Galapagos tortoises living on the island of Hispaniola. The other 2 males had no idea how to make babies, so I had to show them. Then it became a bit of a contest. Now I'm the proud papa, grandpapa, and great-grandpapa to 40% of the Galapagos tortoises that now live on Hispaniola Island. We now have at least 2,000 Galapagos tortoises on the island. This year, which was 2020, I, along with 2 other males and 15 females, are to be turned loose in the wild. I am over 100 years old, so it's been a very long time since I was free and in the wild. It's kind of scary. That means that someone might harm me. We Galapagos tortoises are fascinating reptiles. For example, We're the largest tortoises in the world. We grow to be the oldest. Our shell is not solid, and we can go a year without eating. We are now no longer going extinct, although we are still critically endangered on some of the other islands in the Galapagos. So that's basically the kind of stories that I tell about animals. And I thought this was really interesting because I saw Diego in the San Diego Zoo in 1973.
Goodness.
And then when we went to the Galapagos, I saw him again.
Wow.
And it's the same for when we were in China. We saw oh shoot, I can't remember the panda bear's name right now, but the panda bear was in our San Diego Zoo because I live in San Diego, California. Mm-hmm. And that panda bear was in the San Diego Zoo. It was taken back, and we saw it there. Then it was taken back to China to their panda breeding area, and so we saw him again. And the name, it's funny because the name that they gave this panda it meant butterfly. But then they discovered that little butterfly was a male. Okay, so somebody wants to know where to buy the book. You can buy the book at Barnes & Noble. You can buy the book from Reader's Magnet. You can buy the book in Amazon, or you can buy it directly from me. And that's this book here.
Very good. Let's see if there's any more questions.
Yeah, I'm reading one here. I always forgot my beautiful thoughts every time I write them. What's your technique?
How about a small tape recorder?
Yeah. Yeah, you got, with our phones nowadays, if you have a beautiful thought, put it on your phone.
That's a good idea because we have them with them most of the time anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, our phones are always with us.
Nicki, do any of your children inspire to want to be like you have been, world traveler, photographer, artist, writer? The list goes on and on. We've got several genres here. So I had to bring that in some way.
Yeah, I have one son and one daughter. Our son is a nurse in the ER in our local hospital. Our daughter is a doctor, and she's married to a dairy farmer, and they live, and he's Zimbabwean, and so she's been living in Zimbabwe for the last 12 years, I think.
Goodness. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yep.
Let's see if there's any questions here.
I do have one more book that I just wanted to share.
Good.
And this one is a teacher resource book that I wrote several years ago. Read, Move, Learn. And this is active stories for active learning. And children don't learn by sitting on their little bums. They learn by moving and doing.
That's right.
So this particular book is for teachers to, they're ready-made lessons to learn how to incorporate different physical activities and music in with their lesson plans. And when I was a teacher, I was actually an education consultant. I was teaching classroom teachers all over the United States, and then internationally too. I was invited to be an international education consultant. So I did that for several years until it got a little crazy with the airlines and all of those things. So anyway, if there are any teachers out there, teachers of young children, Read, Move, Learn is a perfect book to pick up and use in putting together lesson plans.
Good. It's so important to give teachers materials, extracurricular materials that they can use instead of the same things every day, because children need to learn new things.
And children learn so much through music. There are so many little action music songs, you know, for learning their locomotor skills: run, jump, leap, gallop, skip, slide, hop, and walk. And so many books. You talk about literature, and so many books that incorporate physical activities, or stories about children or animals running or jumping or somersaulting. There's, for example, Giraffes Can Dance is a cute little book, you know, and all kinds of other little stories. Get Up and Go, Froggy Plays Soccer. So they can actually imitate a lot of the stories in all of these little books, because it's also based upon current literature. And there's a whole Froggy series. Froggy plays in the band, and Finkelhopper Frog cheers, so he's a little cheerleader, and Down by the Cool of the Pool. You know, all different kinds of stories like that. So I think it's important if you're a teacher, in your curriculum to incorporate reading, moving, and music.
Okay. What qualifiers would you say are in your books that beats the competition? What qualifiers do you think help sell your books more than your competitors? One thing or two things? You know, we talked about photography and those sorts of things.
The photography and my subject matter.
What ways have you introduced your books to the public?
I'm sorry, what?
What ways have you introduced your books to the public? Have you been to public library meetings and set up a place where people could come by and talk with you and see the books? Are you in a bookmobile at your local schools?
I belong to the National Library Association, so I have sent emails to all of the heads of libraries throughout the United States to introduce my books to them. And I think this next year is going to open up. I'm going to be at the Tucson Book Fair.
Good.
And the LA Book Fair, and those are both in March and April. So I'm doing that, and yeah, I've got my website, NickiGeigertBooks.com, and I sell books there, and I've got a constant contact going with librarians. So hopefully somebody will pick up the books.
Yeah. Yeah,
and here's the thing. If you're wondering about Christmas presents, it's always good to get some fun book for kids to read. And the travel books, like Family Trip, this is all these books, and also the one about Greece. That's all about teenage travel and how teenagers can really, you know, jump in and have fun traveling with family.
Well, I think it's important for us to get our books in a timely manner. when something's going on, something that's prevalent in the world today or whatever. I had one of the books that I've written is called Get Well Quick, Hospital for the Sick. And it was developed because a friend of mine had a friend that said her granddaughter was just all to pieces because her grandmother, her grams, was going to have to go into the hospital, and she didn't know anything about the hospital. So my friend asked me, said, well, do you think you could write a book about hospitals? And I said, well, I'll try. So that's how Get Well Quick, Hospital for the Sick came to be, because children need to know, have a feeling that it's a friendly place, but it's a place where there are people that are in the family or sick need to go. And I thought this would be a real good book to give to superintendents and people in the school systems to have in their school library, or to doctor's offices, to dentist office, to give to a child when they are going to go into the hospital, have tonsils removed or whatever.
That's right.
You
That's
just
important.
Yes, it is, to pick out how you're going to get your word out there about your book. And it's important also.
It's hard. It's hard getting your work out there. You got to work at getting your work out there.
You have, and it's hard to stand on a street corner and sell one book.
Yep.
So I tell people, and you need somebody to help you sometimes. And one of the things that we had done, a friend of mine, Carol Grace, and I developed a curriculum guide on manners, and it's called Manners, Little Giant Called Manners. And he's a little boy that lives in a house with three of his siblings, and his mother and father, and they're all giants. They're all larger than Manners. So Manners, instead of using force to get his way and to show the other giants the right way to get appreciated, is to do it the right way. And so he takes each one of his siblings one at a time and teaches them how to use the right manner. For instance, the girl is called Puller of the Hair, and she pulls everybody's hair all the time. She's always wanting to fight. You go in the cafeteria for breakfast in the morning, there she is, has someone knocking them around with her hair, with their hands on their head. So Manners talks to her, and ends up that she is also not using the computer in the right way for Facebook. She's destroying her friendships with people that she has and causing a lot of problems. So Manners deals with her on that. So the other children that we have in the book are called Hit Him in the Side. He likes to ride the bus. And when he hits people in the side, he stretches out all over the bus. So Manners talks to him about behaving, and maybe he could be on the bus patrol. So Hit Him in the Side does that, or attempts that, and he becomes one of the members of the bus patrol. Another one's Kick Him in the Shin, and he likes to throw food in the cafeteria, and he likes to cause problems everywhere he goes. And he stands around the corner and jumps out and scares the little children and just things like that. And Manners talks to him about talking to the guidance counselor and seeing if he can learn how to behave in the cafeteria and have more friends. And Fisticuffs wants to join a gang. He's wanting to be big and strong because he is. But Manners teaches him that it's a better way of using your talents than fighting people or causing problems. So he joins the wrestling team. So Manners helps everyone out. But my point about telling you all that was that I, didn't have time. It's a curriculum guide for elementary guidance counselors. It's really for grades pre-K to about 3rd, 4th grade. And it's a good resource because it has a CD, and it has activities for the children to do. They have their own book of the stories. We have a chant. We have a song, and it's all for $30. And we could not go to every state and every guidance counselor in every city, town, etc. So Marco Products has that one to sell, called A Little Giant Called Manners. And you can't go wrong with it. It's just a wonderful activity book to use in the classroom, or the guidance counselor can use it. She or he does their lessons.
That sounds fun.
It is. It's a good book. But
okay, there's one person that wants to know, what do you think of coloring books? I think coloring books are great. In fact, that's one of the things that I'm getting all of my grandchildren and others for Christmas this year is coloring books, and with color crayons. The 96 box of color crayons is pretty cool. And then I have another family member that really wants to get into art. So They're getting, you know, the paints, the brushes, the colored pencils, the charcoal, all of those things to go with. So, yeah, I think it's important to really pull out the art side of you know, people, and it's good. Color books are good because it helps you learn to stay in the lines and define. So it helps them define space, and whether it's positive or negative space. Negative space is a space that you're not supposed to go into. So just stay in the lines and those kinds of things.
I agree with you. We did the same thing with our youngest daughter. She loved to color when she was real little, and we had magic markers, we had colored pencils, we had just everything for her to work with. And she turned out to major in art and psychology in college, and is really a good artist. She really does well with charcoal. Looks like almost they are pictures taken. Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing to do, is to get involved with that with your children and provide them the materials they need.
I have one person that I was moderating for, and her daughter did all of the illustrations for her book, which I thought was pretty cool.
My daughter did. Our daughter, Roger and my daughter, also did the illustrations for our first book called "Who Are Those People Back There?" She drew the bus and all the people and the grandmother and everything. Did a great job. Huh. She is busy with her job as a guidance counselor, and she's married, and they have 2 active children, so she doesn't get to do many of my pictures right now. But hopefully there'll be time later to do them again.
Oh yeah, you can always come back around.
Right.
So
it's important.
So I personally don't see any more questions, but
I don't see any more either.
Yeah. For my part, thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Reader's Magnet, and go Sandy.
It was my pleasure to be a part of this interview and this moderator's journalism, and talking about all the things we've talked about. My head's just spinning. So I appreciate you. And Nicki, it was so nice meeting you and getting to know you better. And I'm going to try to see if I can't find a couple of those books somewhere in a bookstore. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And it was good meeting you too, Sandy.
This concludes our interview and moderator session with Nicki Geigert. Thank you, Nicki, again.
Thank you.